Good evening. My name is Yvette Ortiz, and I would like to do my presentation on QR codes today, June 20th, 2015. Okay, to get started, just a bit of history on the QR code. QR codes were created in 1994 by Denso Wave Incorporated in Japan. The research development team was tasked to create a more efficient way to track automotive parts, and they did so by creating the QR codes. The research development team was led by Masahiro Hara, who is pictured here. When QR codes were created, they were really meant to supplement the existing standard barcode. And the reason for that is a standard barcode is limited in what it can contain. So as you can see here, a standard barcode can only be read from left to right, and it contains approximately 20 characters. Then the problem with that was they were really only able to put very limited information into a standard barcode. So with the creation of the QR code, they were able to multiply the amount of data that they could put within the code. The way a QR code is set up, it's a two-dimensional scannable image, so it can actually be read from left to right and then also in an upward direction. So you have two dimensions of information that you are decoding. So if you are wondering how you are able to generate these codes, there are various websites available, and here is a list of just a few that you can use to create your codes. And as you can see, the QR code on this particular slide doesn't look anything like the original QR code that I used as an example, but the reason is there is a newer code generator. It's QRSnip.com. It's the last one on the list here. That does allow you to do some more creative things when you're creating your QR code, but I do have to caution you with the fact that sometimes when you do that, it minimizes or it lowers the readability of the code. So even though it could be something like fun and a little bit of a novelty to use in the class one day if you're maybe doing a theme lesson or something, but other than that, I would recommend that you not deviate too far from the standard generators. The counterpart to the code generators are the code readers. And here are a few examples of some readily available code readers that you can find online. And just like with the generators, you really just have to find one that works for you and your classroom. But these are 4 code readers that I saw recommended in various educational websites as I was doing my research. Okay, now I would like to show you a couple of websites that I found useful in my research for this presentation. Okay, so for this segment of the presentation, I want to talk about a couple of websites, and the first one is educatorstechnology.com. If you look right over here, you can see educatorstechnology.com, and when you go there, there's several different choices. In this case, I wanted to focus on QR codes, and the reason I chose this particular website is I like to have a go-to place where I know that I can find information about something that I've learned. And I found this website to be very helpful, and it's compiled by users, so that's always nice. You get the element of immediate feedback because they chose different links to be added because they found them useful. So as you can see here, when you first get to the website, there are various video tutorials, introductions to QR codes, why even use QR codes, how to use QR codes. So it's very helpful for the first time user as well. But the reason I wanted to show you this particular website is if you go down, scroll down a little ways, you'll see various QR code generators, and they put them in the list based on their preference. And I've played around with a few of them, and they're actually pretty well organized. But it gives you a small description on what you can do with these various code generators. So it's a quick, fast view of the choices that are out there. And then the only thing that might be a negative is that you do have a lot of choices presented to you on this website. So if you're someone who doesn't like to have to go through various options, you want to just have a quick go-to, this may not be the place for you. But the good side of it is that you can find one centralized location with a list of code generators that you can test out and then decide which one is the best for you. Now, this is going to take us to the second website that I want to talk to, and this particular generator right here called QR Stuff. I'm going to click on that and load it. And if you look, this is just a basic code generator. Most code generators that you're going to find out there are going to be very similar. But the reason I chose this particular one is because it's very detailed, and you have a lot of choices as far as what you can link to your QR code. So instead of having to find different generators that work for different things, this has a large scope. So as you can see, you can do website URLs, you can link things to YouTube videos, Google Maps, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. There are many different choices. So in this case, I'm just going to do a URL, and I'll just do uamont.edu. And all you have to do is you're going to put in your website information here. If you wanted to do plain text, you could actually just put in information and it's going to embed it into your QR code. But for our purposes, we're just going to use uamont.edu. And in this particular generator, you can choose to change the color of your QR code, but keep in mind you may not want to do too much with color coordination unless you're sure that you're going to have access to a color printer, because sometimes that's not an option that's out there. Now, if you do, then you could probably even color code your QR codes to go with various activities. But, for our purposes here, we're just going to do black and white. And as you can see, as I select different things and change things about the code, it changes the preview. So you can see what it's going to look like as you're adding information. So let me just go back to black and white. And then once you're done and you've put in everything that you want to have in your code, you just download your QR code. And if you look right down here, you'll see that it saves your image as a PNG file. That way you're able to do changes to it. It's versatile. You can open it with various programs. So if we open that, as you can see, it's just a simple image. And the one thing I do want to caution you is if you are going to adjust the image down, let's say you want to be able to put it on the bottom corner of a worksheet or something like that, make sure that you keep the proportions of the image, because it can negatively impact how it's read. So that's really the only thing. Other than that, it's ready to go. You can open it with any kind of editing program, and you can adjust it down and add it to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a worksheet or if it's you're going to put it in a book, whatever the case may be. But for now, that's a couple of websites for you to consider. And then, of course, you can always go out and find some more. There's always new generators and new readers popping up that are just a little bit more advanced. So I definitely would say that don't lock yourself into one particular generator forever, but this certainly gives you a starting point. With QR codes, you can really help students to navigate different informational text, literature, writing skills can be improved. You can build in prompts into your projects to help students with that. Even just with how they present themselves, if they're having to record a podcast or create a link for students to hear their review on a book. I mean, it's all things that can be tied into the Common Core and how it's building a foundation for students to develop who they are going to be in the future and to take that information with them, not just learn it for a test and then get by to the next step. So it really is a engaging, interactive way for students to learn by building their lessons and projects and activities around QR codes. On the other hand, you also have mathematics, and equally useful for mathematics would be to use QR codes when you're working with students. In the younger years, K through 5, you're really learning and are trying to fortify a good, strong mathematical foundation. So QR codes can be used to focus on number sense, operations, fractions, relationships. It really is a moldable technology that can be used across the board when it comes to supporting Common Core. And then as they get into the later years, sixth grade and on, it really can expand on their knowledge. The information they already have from their younger years, it can be used to augment their understanding of algebra, geometry, and anything else that might be to come when it comes to mathematics. When it comes to extracurricular activities, QR codes can really just be implemented in ways that make transactions easier between faculty and students, between faculty and parents, between parents and students, because the students can go home and show their parents the technology that they're working with. But, if you're using it with a yearbook, you're using it to help you with fundraisers, family nights, maybe organizing a scavenger hunt for a parent and a child to do together, or even just during an open house, you can have a child showing the parent their portfolio with the work that they've done throughout the year. Now let's take a moment and take a look at this technology in action. I hope you enjoyed this video that demonstrates how students and faculty are using QR codes and technology in general to enhance their classrooms.
We started our project in the school library where students in the reading classes developed podcasts on accelerated reader books. Allison then converted those podcasts to QR codes and added a QR card in the back of the book. Students can now choose a book in the library, take it to our special QR code station, and listen to a student-created podcast review of the book. Our world language teacher develops audio versions of vocabulary for students to review pronunciations. She added a QR code in the corner of her worksheets so students could listen and practice while on the move. The social studies teachers add QR codes on their worksheets that analyze battles. The QR code links students to reenactments on YouTube so they may better visualize the battle. Because science labs may not be repeatable for students who are absent, our science teachers record the science labs and put QR codes of the videos on a designated calendar. This helps students who missed the lab because they can now take it home on their phone. Students in the family and consumer science classes conduct cooking demonstrations. This year, the demonstrations are recorded and uploaded online. The student recipes include a QR code that links to the recorded video. Students in music classes are able to practice their parts at home because a QR code on their music links to audio of their individual part. QR codes are located all around the school campus, even on trees. Our vocational agriculture students can break into small groups during a lesson because the audio is segmented according to a particular tree. QR codes in our school district have extended learning opportunities, provided remediation, and connected our student community beyond the school walls.
Now that we've talked about the various forms to create a QR code, the various software to read a QR code, now let's talk about the devices that you can use when you're working with QR codes. Anything that has a camera and in which you can download some kind of a reader is perfectly good, whether it's iPods, tablets, laptops, desktops, any of that type of technology can be used to help you work with QR codes in your classroom. Working on this presentation has certainly been a challenge, but I think that I'm walking away with a whole new set of tools to put in my teaching toolkit, and I'm looking forward to starting the academic year and to start teaching with this new information in my hand and being able to implement using QR codes in the classroom in various ways, both in literacy as well as in science. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you've enjoyed the presentation.